Guys, I think we have done it. We as a species have created the most perfect manga to screen translation of all time. City the animation. Now, when I say translation, I mean it in a bit of a different context than adaptation, even though they are technically the same thing. But most of the time, anime and manga, while showing the same stories, will still have a barrier, a line between them, separating them due to being different mediums. And I don't just mean the fact that it has music, voice acting, etc., but from a big picture perspective, they fundamentally fine-tune the presentation of the story to match the medium that anime is. But this feels like a manga on screen in the truest way possible while still being animated. Second to only those moving comic adaptations, but I'm not counting those. Now I get I worded that whole section extremely poorly, so if I sounded stupid as fuck, whoops. But I mean, look at it. Take any screenshot from this and it feels like I'm looking at a colored manga. It definitely helps that they kept intact this beautiful art style that's so soft on the eyes and kind of wraps you in a nice cozy embrace. It also helps that this is a very gag heavy series. Both of these things that I will not only talk about more later, but both lend themselves to keeping that true manga feel even on screen. And for that I tip my non-existent hat to it, because the charm is radiating. Wow, that was an intro, and I haven't even properly introduced the series yet. I haven't even mentioned that the original manga is by Keiichi Arawi, the creator of Nichijou. And like Nichijou, the City anime adaptation is also from KyoAni, so like, come on. Banger was expected. But what I was truly not expecting was the level of banger. This shit slapped so unbelievably hard. And as I mentioned, a huge part of that was my satisfaction with not only the overall presentation of the series, but also the story itself. Because the more that we get into this and the production behind it, the more impressive the story aspect, the actual narrative piece that City is, not including the other stuff that I love from it, because of multiple reasons that we will get into. But I'm just really impressed with how they handled everything. This show just has so much to offer, and at the forefront of that, let's talk about it, the humor, which, without getting into too much because it is almost impossible to explain, but even when it's not actively making me laugh out loud, it's just plain entertaining. With characters from all different walks of lives and all sorts of situations. Hell, the city itself is a character. Kind of like how Gotham City is an essential part of Batman with its own identity, this city is one of those fictional locations, and that does lead itself to the humor as well. Another thing is that the series will sometimes just straight up run jokes so far into the ground that they can't help but become funnier. Which shouldn't be the case, but it is. The skits are also really clever, as well as the dialogue being really witty, and they will have a portion of the story or a joke that's currently going on connect to other things within different stories in ways that just makes you really excited to see the next way they'll pull it off. It reminds me of comedians, at least for me. I love the comedians that are great storytellers, the ones who will spare no effort setting up a punchline that the audience might not even see coming because they are so enamored with what's currently being said, or they're expecting one punchline and get another, or they forget about what the initial setup is along the way, and the comedian grabs it out of his hat way later in the show, tying it into another joke or running gag slash theme, surprising the audience and making them laugh more than ever. That is always going to be better than focusing on quick jokes that you forget about later, or just really easy jokes. Like, there's some funny anime out there. They're few and far in between, in my opinion, but this show really does stand out with its storytelling genius and the way that it ties it in. Because a lot of anime humor, in my opinion, is either, okay, your sexual humor, your parody humor, like, oh, this is how we're going to separate ourselves from this other anime, or I don't know. This part's not on my script, so I'm kind of freestyling here, but you get what I mean. There's very specific anime humors, and I'm fine with all of them, but I'm always going to kind of like the ones that matter to storytelling more, because it just makes the whole experience better and a little less forgettable. But I'm not going to rag on other series to prop this one up. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I just think that this is absolutely geniusly done, and I don't know, one of the earliest comedy focused animes that I watched, Konosuba, which is still up to this day, that does it in a very different way, very different type of humor, but it still lends itself very well to its story, and I still have a very fond image of that series in my mind. So it's not like I think this is the only way you can do anime comedy. No, I'm just really happy with how they did it here. But it's also for this reason that City's anime and manga are both worthy experiences, and I don't think you should alienate yourself to one or the other. The anime isn't as straightforward as the manga, kind of picking and choosing which stories to put in what order to tell the most interconnected tale, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Well, the manga is of course the original story, and you can slow down, really appreciate some details that could have been missed with all that's going on in the anime, whether you realize it or not, and you can visit the chapters that weren't adapted, get to know these characters in even more depth. and then rewatch City again because it's a series that is meant to be rewatched. It is made to be rewatched, in my opinion. One of those where it's like you find something new every viewing. There's just so much detail in everything. Due to everything I just mentioned, I don't even know if this will or can get a second season because of how this adaptation came to be, how it was made, and how they went about it. It's just so specific to this one experience that I don't know how you replicate it or go about it. We'll talk about this a little bit more later because it is something that I don't take lightly. But speaking of lightly, or light, this series has some light-hearted bangers. That was a really bad segue, and I cut off a previous point that we're gonna get to later just to make a segue to this. I couldn't fucking think of anything. I'm sorry. But yeah, bad transition effort, but the music, the opening hello from Fururi Riho is the most alive, optimistic kind of opening out there. The ending from Tomo, Lucky, is pretty good as well. It's a bit of a cool down track and works extremely well for an outro. But on an episode-to-episode basis, the background tracks were also hitting, such as Catfight, Absurdity, Happiness, or Funks on the Street. No! I will not give you any context. Go and watch the show to find out. And don't even get me started on the final episode, which has an entire anime original musical number that is a real treat. I was reading what the director Taichi Ishidate had to say about it, and he said that before recording even began, they were casting with a musical in mind, and the music for the musical itself was being created while the production of the main film was progressing in parallel. This guy is a maniac! The dedication to the ultimate bit. Not only a goodbye to the animation, but to as many characters as humanly possible. Wrapping up the series, it really is the ultimate accumulation of this whole effort. It was peak. Also, funny side note, I just found this out while researching for this video that the dub does not dub it at all. They just play the Japanese version. And I always find it funny when that happens because I love seeing dub efforts of making new versions of musical numbers. Now, obviously, it's kind of crazy with something on the level of this, but it would have been fun to see them try at least. Because even though I don't watch dubs very often, especially these days, because new series will normally come out in sub first, every now and then you'll get a dub happening at the same time, but it's not very often. And I'm just a guy that appreciates the original voice acting. And then later on, if I hear that a dub is really good, I'll check it out, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. I just don't get to see them very often, but it is still interesting to see how you do localize or translate one language to another. It's a very interesting process to me, seeing what they deem to be like, okay, this is how we will tell this in English, and there's the little small things and nuances between the languages or cultures and stuff. So it's always interesting to see how they translate stuff in general, but especially in music, because you still got to make it sound good, sound catchy, rhyme, stuff like that. So it's even harder. So it is kind of sad that we'd miss out on that, but I don't know. Side note, once again, not on my screen. I'm freestyling here a lot in this video. My main point is I just really wanted to point out the efforts in that specific episode, but not only this specific episode, because this is a theme for every aspect of the show. Just effort beyond what is needed, really pushing the boundaries overall. Take the animation, for example. Even when you look past how fluid the characters move, I mean, the most obvious example of good animation, you look at the color palette, the backgrounds. Oh, I guess that's more art. Art and animation. I'm talking about both. They're not the same thing. I don't think they're the same thing. Sorry. I'm talking about them both here. So, yeah, even when you look past how well the characters move, because that is the animation, yes, but you look at how the series is presented in the picture frame that is your TV screen, and it's just so creative. You can really see the passion in the drawing. And yeah, anime or any creative endeavor with this much raw passion from everyone involved is always gonna hit, even if it doesn't become your new favorite anime or anything. Because this shit is contagious and can only be good for anime as a whole. I really do think that. Like, who knows? Maybe someone down the line will be really inspired by this series and want to make their own answer to it, you know? Or their own love letter to it. But this does bring me to what I was bringing up earlier. How the hell would you even go about a second season to not only follow this up, but to be in the same vein? Because like I said, season 1 hinges on not only interconnecting particular stories, but really leading up to that musical number. And I am gonna have to rewatch it, because obviously I didn't know the musical number was coming while I was watching it, but it's gonna be really fun seeing and now having the context as well. But you'd have to spend so much time on a second season, and what would be the ultimate mic drop on that one? I don't know. It just, season 1 really feels like this is our take on this, and that's it. This is the story we want to tell. And it uses chapters from a pre-existing manga to tell that story, but it really is a life of its own. And yes, I am of the opinion 99.9% of the time, like, anime should just follow the manga and not try and do its own thing, and it shouldn't try and change anything. But this is one of those series where it's like, okay, maybe you can take a risk and do this, but that's because it's a different type of story. Now when my Tokyo Ghoul remake comes out, I'm not saying change that shit, no. But how would you go about a second season? So that is one question that I do ask the audience, or just the studio. You know, if they want to take a crack at it, do it. But I don't think this was made with a follow-up in mind. That's probably the main thing. I don't know. I just feel like it would really go about differently. And just maintaining this quality for another 13 episodes or 12 or whatever. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know exactly what's on KyoAni's plate right now, but if the second season is going to come, which I don't think it will, or I don't even think it's needed, but expect at least another 6 to 10 years. And yeah, I don't know though. I do not think it's going to happen, and I don't need it to happen. I am happy with this. And if you really need more of the content, the actual chapters that were missed, they are in the manga. I think this really works for a one-off experience. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I only bring all that up again because of how nuts it is. The more that I go into the production process of the series, the more I love it and respect it. Passion is contagious is probably going to be the main theme of this video. That is the theme. So do I recommend City the Animation? Do I think you should watch it? You bet your sweet Bibby I do. It is streaming on Amazon Prime, at least here in America, but I'm sure y'all can look for it where y'all need to look for it and watch it. I guarantee you that we will look back on this as a classic. The anime community as a whole will see this and give it that title, or hell, give it just 1 year and you'll see TikToks like underrated gems absolutely nobody knows about. And this will be on it. I love those TikToks because people will say that. It'll be like, top 10 anime you never heard of, and put some shit like Serial Experiments Lane. And I mean, I like that show. It's one of my favorites. It really left an impression on me, and I think it's a very valuable show, especially in this day and age. But I wouldn't say it's an underrated gem that nobody knows about. Everybody knows this shit. Even the fashion community knows this shit. Ask the vintage t-shirt community what that is, and they'll know the series better than you. Or they'll never have watched it at all. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. Random conversations now, freestyling again. Haha. But back to the topic at hand. We're gonna get to the finish line here. I do understand if you peep City and aren't a fan. It just is not a series for everyone. At its core, these sort of series never are. But still give it a shot, because as a piece of anime history, as I said, not only will this be titled a classic in my opinion, but it will stand out as an anomaly of adaptations that really went the extra mile. In, once again, those production processes that I didn't even get into all the way here. It'll be like a whole story. I can see the Twitter thread now. Like, did you know that there could be a documentary on the shit? And yeah, it's obviously gonna get Nichijou comparisons. That's why I try not to bring it up in this video, but comparing these two series just makes it more obvious their contrast. I could make that a whole video in itself, but I'm not going to because I'm lazy. But just know, this isn't Nichijou 2. It has its own identity, and it's one that's worth exploring. That's it for me. What did you think of City? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did it teach you the meaning of life? Let me know in the comments. It's been your boy Eddie Hates Anime, and I'm out. Subscribe. Peace. Mwah.